Hey everybody, it's Sean. It's Excelsior Saber time. I'm going to show you a new build that I finally got done. This is the Watto's Junkyard Tusken Slayer, and this saber has been on my workbench for a little over a year now, so I'm really excited to finally have it finished. But basically, this was a run that was done about a year ago, a little over a year ago, by SaberProject, by the guys who run that in Germany. And they decided to make a run of Anakin Attack of the Clones style lightsabers. So that's what this is. And it is a really beautiful hilt. I have a whole unboxing video for this when I talked about just the kit and how it came. And now I have it finally installed, so I'm just going to show you what it's like now that it's all put together. So this has a Proffieboard in it. This has a 1.5 with dual strips in it, 2812B pixel strips. It has a 20mm speaker. It has the proprietary chassis from SaberProject for this particular hilt. And aside from that, it's a pretty straightforward build. So let's get into it. Let me show you some of the details I've done. Now, I did make a few modifications to the hilt, very minor, but basically the first thing I did was I went up to the emitter here, and if you look in here, you can tell there's your blade plug, right? So this particular blade plug, when you pop this out, you'll notice that this one has this black area on the bottom of it. So that's actually a piece of black Delrin that I machined, and I machined a recess on the bottom of this blade plug, and I epoxied that in there. The reason I did that was because inside of the emitter, so we can get the camera to focus on it. Inside the emitter we have, there we go. We have these pogo pins for the NeoPixel blade connector. And the thing with these is, if you were to turn this saber on and not have the blade installed, and you were to stick your finger in there, you could get zapped. So also, it's really important that the blade plug be in it anytime that the actual blade isn't. But the blade plug, I thought it would be a good idea to have that insulated, so that's why I put a piece of plastic there, rather than having the electrical current run right through it. So there's our speaker. This pops out. So this is our activation switches here, and this piece in the chassis, these buttons just press in, and that's just one single 3D printed piece, which has like springs built into it. And I thought that was really smart design there, the way that they made that. So I really like the control box setup they have. Now these are real LEDs that were ground down so that they would fit in here, and these two in the middle will actually pop out, so they can actually engage with the on and off switches. Alright, so let's go ahead and take that out. So in order to disassemble this, what you do is take the end cap off and the control box. Next thing you're going to need is a screwdriver, so let's get to that. One thing I want to point out too is, notice the kit comes with two different end caps. So you've got one that's solid, so you can display it, and this is the one you use anytime you want to hear it. So let's go ahead and we're going to pop this out. Alright, now it should just slide right out. Yeah. So here we are. And this is such a nice design. I really like this. I like how modular it is, how easy it is to just take everything apart. So here you go, you've got your two switches, power's on the bottom, aux is on the top, and this right here is your recharge port. Here's the brain of the operation. So this is your Proffieboard, so it's all wired up. It's very easy to get access to it. I made sure the wires are flexible enough that you can just pop that up. Anytime you want to change a font, you can just pull the SD card right out of there. Or if you want to tune it, change the blade styles, so you can plug right into the micro USB. Okay, so now you can see what the end of it looks like. And there's the hole at the top for the set screw. Okay, so on the bottom, we've got, this little panel comes off, and you can see what the recharge port looks like. So up here at the top, you can see there are two holes there that you can mount a red and a green LED in, and those will shine through on the hilt if you want to add those accent LEDs. I chose not to do that. I'm just not a big fan of accent LEDs, but it's not that hard to add those anyway. So Now this is, here's the solution I came up with for the NeoPixel connector up here, right? So I decided to use one of the pixel connectors from the custom saber shop. I decided to use that because it's pretty convenient setup. So in order to make that work, I ended up designing a little 3D printed adapter piece here. So let me show you how that works. So this whole thing is actually just press fit in. You can just pop this right off. All right, you can see these wires here will actually just come right off. Right. So at that point, there is the adapter. Now this one's printed in black, but it's just the same as this one. So what this does is this has an M7 thread on it, and this has actually got a hole there for the wires to pass through. So I drilled and tapped the top of the chassis, and then I threaded this down onto it, and that's what this one is, the one that's on there right now. That's how that one's in there. Then I just run the wires through it, you solder it up, and then after that, this part just pushes right on, just press fit like that. It's super simple and really convenient. And here's just to show you the demonstration on one that's outside the hilt. So these parts just pop together, and they're snug enough that you're never going to have an issue with it. So yeah, so that's how that worked. Alright, so now let me put the whole thing together here, and I'll demo some sound fonts and just what Proffi sounds like. Because as everyone knows, Proffieboards have smoothswing, and smoothswing is the latest and greatest when it comes to lightsabers. Pop that out. Okay, now you're not hearing a boot sound right now because of course the speaker's not attached. But if you're quick enough, you can hear the first boot up sound. Okay. Alright, so speaker's in. We got our vented pommel cap. We're ready to go. And let's go ahead and put this in just to be on the safe side. Okay. So of course everybody knows what smoothswing is by now. Basically it's an algorithm that follows your movements exactly and gives a very realistic saber experience with the sound. So watch how it reacts exactly what I do. Move it slowly. Every little movement is detected. Now watch what happens if I move it faster. So what that's doing is that's actually triggering something called accent swings, which if you follow the Rebel Armory, you can see how those have developed. And there's a particular member there who's done a ton of excellent work on those, and has really, in my opinion, has taken Proffieboard to the next level. When I first started programming with it, I had a little bit of difficulty getting everything to run the way I wanted to, but after playing with it for a while, I got it tuned, so I'm really happy with it now. And the font support for this is starting to grow, so a lot of Proffi fonts are starting to crop up, and they have not just smoothswing sounds, but also accent swings. So that's the best of both worlds. Basically, accent swings are like your traditional swing sounds. So when you move the saber more aggressively, those trigger, and then when you're moving it more slowly like this, you get the best of both worlds. Blaster deflections, you just tap the AUG switch. For lockup, you hold the AUG switch down. And for deactivation, you hold down the power switch. So these controls are not your typical Proffi controls. These have been modified, and they're more like traditional plector style lightsaber controls, which I prefer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the blade in here so I can show you some of the different effects. And of course I'll take you outside, as I always do, and I'll give you a demo out there. But just to show you more about this, so this is a little adapter that I machined on the lathe to make this hilt compatible with a 7/8 inch blade. So one of the things with this hilt, there was a problem with the chrome in the emitter. It was too thick, so a lot of people when they got these, they wanted to put 1-inch blades in them, and they found that it wouldn't fit. They had a hard time with that. So I avoid 1-inch blades for most purposes anyway, so I just figured, well, you know what, I'm just going to use a 7/8 inch blade. So I'll just make my own adapter, and then that way I was also able to machine this so that it would fit in there without any problem, and it wouldn't be too snug. So this also, I machined this little groove in here because what that does is that allows the set screw inside the emitter, the little brass set screw, that actually allows that to go in the groove, because here's the thing, the pogo pins are putting pressure outwards. So if you don't have something with a hilt that has this little depth in it, the thumb screw is going to lose its grip anytime this blade starts to swing around. So the way to avoid that is I have that groove, and that actually allows the blade to stay locked in. So I have to pull it in and then twist this down. And now once that's tight, that's not coming out, and that holds the blade against the pin connectors, so it never loses contact, which is really important because it gets annoying if you're spinning something like this around and the blade keeps turning off. So that was my little way of avoiding that. So let me go ahead and fire this up so you can see, at least see a little bit of color in here. Alright, so this is a nice Anakin kind of medium blue color. There's your lockup, deflections. Alright, let's go ahead and deactivate. I'll cycle through a couple more colors. Like a Vader blade, nice slow ignition. Looks really good. Alright, green blade. So I worked on the blade styles on these for a long time, and I combined flicker and pulse so that you get the flicker effect, but you also get a nice noticeable pulse effect. So I'm really happy with that, and that's one of the great things about Proffi, is it lets you do that. You can really tune these things to make them exactly as you want them. It just has a bit of a learning curve. Okay, so I will show you one other thing, and the neat thing also about Proffi is that every font you can put a different soundtrack into it, so you can play different songs as well. So that's from like Knights of the Old Republic, the old video game. Let's go ahead and cycle through it. And the way you do that is you just hold, while the saber's off, you just hold down the power button. Like a quick press obviously will turn the thing on, but if you hold the power button down, it'll start playing a track. Alright, so that's the overview of the hilt, so I'll take you out back next, and we'll see what this thing can do. Thanks for watching.
for all the Jedi that you killed today. Someday I will be the most powerful I will be the most powerful Jedi ever. I don't like sand. You're gonna pay for all the Jedi that you killed today.